Welcome back to the Recovery Roadrunners podcast. We are thrilled to welcome the one and only Maurice, the Marathon Panda. Maurice is not only an accomplished ultramarathoner, but also a passionate advocate for mental health and recovery. He uses his platform to inspire others through his own journey of overcoming adversity and finding strength in running. Get ready for an inspiring conversation as we dive into Maurice's unique story, his incredible running feats, and his unwavering commitment to use his voice to make a difference in the lives of others. So today we've got Doug, Joe, Vinny, Maurice, and myself. Welcome to the show, Maurice.
Thank you so much for having me. And that was a really cool intro. I'm excited. So thank you. I'm grateful that you made me sound so cool.
Yeah, well, you are so cool. And I should have said welcome back because Doug and Joe interviewed you last year, or Doug and Vinny, and I wasn't a part of that. And I felt like I totally missed out on something cool. So here you are, and I'm just so excited to talk to you. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Happy Thursday. With 3 hours difference, right?
Yeah.
So it's like dinner time for you. I just had a late dinner. And yeah.
I saw that on this fine Thursday, you crushed a 15 miler.
I did. It's my day off from work, so I always like to say that.
Nice.
One time I was at a running event, and my friend was like, "Do you have a job?" I was like, "Yes, I have a full-time job." She's like, "Every time I see you, you're posting a picture at like the gym, or you just ran like up teen miles." I said, "No, I work full-time. My boss always reminds me that like when I'm not there, I'm not making money." And just that's something I actually want to touch on if we get to it. But yeah, I did 15 miles early this morning. And then I had the day off from work. Actually had to do a work project, but super simple. It only took us like 45 minutes. So I was able to get that done, and then I made it to the gym. So a very productive day off.
Right on. Well, let's back up a little bit, just in case people don't know who you are. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us like the Cliff Notes version of Maurice the Marathon Panda.
Okay, so my name's Maurice. I call myself the Marathon Panda. I'm 46. I'm from Providence, Rhode Island. I've been super duper active in the running community. I've found that running has been the foundation to my sobriety. I'm also very vocal in the sobriety and recovery community. Never ran as a kid. I did all sorts of youth athletics and just never excelled at any of them. Found running later in life. It was my go-to exercise when I wanted to build that confidence, when I wanted to work on mental health, when I wanted to shake off like a bad night of drinking or drugging. Running was my go-to exercise. I obviously was never consistent with it because I did struggle with alcohol and substance abuse for years. When I got serious about my health and wellness and my sobriety, running was there for me. I became super consistent with it, not knowing anything, like had never done a track workout, didn't know about like marathons and qualifications and the history I didn't know how to respect the sport and the community, but I did love it. Signed up for my very first half marathon and was immediately infatuated with the community aspect of it. I'll never forget finishing the race. And just to kind of paint the picture of that, I had just been released from prison doing like a 9 or 12 month sentence that was drug and alcohol related. And I try not to go all over the place, but I'm trying to paint this picture. And I had been running while I was away. And I had this dream of running the Boston Marathon, but once again, didn't know the significance of the race, didn't know the history of the race, didn't know the qualifications, didn't know about charity entries, and knew my partner at the time, she was like, well, there's this local half marathon. She's like, can't you do a half marathon before you do a full marathon? I said, that sounds like a pretty good plan. So she signed me up. So I get out of prison and I have this local half marathon on the calendar. I literally I had been reading Runner's World magazines, and my idea of running was just like, when they let you outside, I was running, for 90 minutes and so forth. And before I had went away, I was running consistently, but with no real structure. The only knowledge I had was from like those Runner's World magazines and kind of just a little bit of word of mouth, but I was very kind of isolated at the time. Got out, ran the race, found this community, and so many cool things happened on that day. A young woman came up to me. She's like, do you know how to check your time? on the screen, type in your bib number, it gives you a slip, it gives you your time. So that all happens, and she gives me this high five, and she's like, dude, you rocked it. She's like, congratulations. And I really believe that's like where the high fives and positive vibes was born, because I was so excited to get this positive recognition. As this is happening, somebody at the race was there with their daughter, and he recognized me, and it was a sheriff from the local courthouse where I'm at in Providence, Rhode Island. And he knew me by first and last name, and he was like, you look amazing. He's like, I just saw you like a couple of months ago. Weren't you locked up? He goes, this is awesome that you're doing this. He's like, my daughter just did the half marathon. So that immediate positive recognition, to be recognized for doing something positive, I was like, this is what I need in my life. And I'm around all these other cool people. And not to say I had never been in group athletics. Once again, I played sports as a child, but we're fast forwarding to like struggling with the alcohol and the drugs for so many years as an adult. So to be back in a community with people that were positive, energetic, all like about the good things in life, I was like, this is where I need to be. I literally signed up for every race. If I could afford to be there, I signed up for it. I did dozens of halves like in the first 6 months of being introduced to the community. I put marathons on the calendar. I had done my first marathon the following year. And when I crossed that finish line of the 26.2 miles, I remember having this feeling of, I'll never go back to chasing drugs and alcohol, because I am literally on this natural high. My mom was there, my aunt was there. I felt so amazing. And unfortunately, I did have a relapse a year later. But then in 2015, I got clean and sober for good, and I've never looked back. And the running has been the foundation. The community has been the foundation. And as the years have gone on, I'm sorry if this wasn't like a short Cliff Note version. As the years have gone on, I've really matured in the sport and in the community, because I have so much respect. I realize I run around town with like this, hey, look at me attitude, but it's not just, hey, look at me. It's like, hey, look what you can do. Because when I was doing dumb stuff, I wasn't taking selfies and saying, hey, I just blew my paycheck on drugs and alcohol. Look at me. Like, that wasn't the case. So obviously, I know that I'm like, hey, look at me. I just did this. I just ran. But it's because I want people to know that like there's always hope, and it's the community part. And now that I have all these little cool roles where I can give back to the community, I'm just wicked grateful. So I have like this raw gratitude that fuels me and hypes me up, and that's why I never stop talking about it.
It's awesome.
I feel your energy, man. And I feel like if the five of us, five, were actually like in a room together, we would have so much freaking fun, like more fun than you can have on drugs and alcohol. Like
Oh,
real,
absolutely.
true,
Absolutely.
authentic fun. And if we went running together, damn, we'd probably never stop.
You'd have to slow down for me to keep up with you, because you two put down some serious miles together.
We do, but we're actually kind of, transitioning into less mileage and more
Okay.
like cycling and lifting and all the stuff, trying to save the feet and the legs.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I was
Says the
waiting
one
for you
who
to say
just
wicked.
ran a 50 miler.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Just a,
I
just a
did.
chill transition.
Didn't you just play start in like a 50 miler?
I did, but it's a funny story. Like if you saw my stats on Strava, you already know that I totally sucked at pacing that race. But I went for it. Like I wanted to get a really great time and I went for it. But here's what I want everyone to know. Like if you're experimenting with what's it called, Vinny?
Sodium bicarbonate.
Yeah, sodium bicarbonate to like avoid cramping and like, get more like endurance out of your run. Take half of the dose. Like I had the worst experience with sodium bicarb, and I was stopping to use the bathroom like every mile or every
Wow.
half mile. I'm not even kidding you. I was just like on the side of the trail about to poop my pants, and I was like, oh my god, I don't know if I'm gonna finish this race. Like it legit sucked, and I think it's because I ate too much sodium bicarb, but I finished that race, so I'm pretty damn
You
proud
did
of myself.
awesome. You did awesome.
But
Crushed it.
yeah, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, so
Not at
somebody
all.
else ask a question.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I got a couple. One, it took you to the last sentence to slip in wicked.
Oh yeah,
You're
I say
wicked
it all
grateful.
the
I
time.
was I was
Wicked,
waiting for it. I didn't know if
wicked,
you're really from
the
New
Northeast.
England, but now
Yeah,
I know.
wicked
Oh,
grateful.
that's us
I
Rhode
grew up.
Islanders. Yeah.
I grew
I
up in
drop
Long
my
Island.
R's. People make fun of me all the time. I say things like I parked my car and
Uh-huh.
I wear shorts and I forget the R and it's my
Yeah.
natural way of talking.
Wicked
Yeah.
awesome.
Wicked
Well,
awesome.
I loved your story, and you tell it great. It's very inspiring.
Thank you
So
so
keep
much.
going around town and say, "Hey, look at me! Look at what you can do." I love it, man. It's great. I do have a question.
Yes.
I know you through Instagram and your rhymes, the raps. So where do those come from? Do
So
you
it
tell us
I
about?
it's funny because sometimes I'm in the groove and I can come up with a bunch of them and I recycle them and use a lot of them that I think because I think they're cool and I'm glad that
Yeah,
I get some positive feedback. So the gist of it is I've been inspired by like the hip hop culture my entire life. I'm not a rapper. I'm not a poet. I know there's real lyricists and poets out there, and I have nothing but respect and admiration for them. But if I can just sprinkle a little bit of like my personality, and I like the rhymes when I'm out running, if I can come up with something catchy, I get all hyped up. And I love the social media platform. It's so funny because we can all get caught in like just scrolling endlessly and looking at negative things. And I've struggled with like comparison and like not to sound cliche, but like imposter syndrome and all that stuff is
oh
like
yeah,
real. And you can waste a lot of time looking at negative stuff. But you can also follow the right people and get in. There's some freaking awesome people doing awesome things, and it's very easy to get motivated and inspired. And just to kind of rewind on that, when I got serious about running, it was a family friend, and she was like, "You should try Instagram and for your running." And I can remember it's so funny. My first like selfie that I took, I had just done like a 6 mile run with like a weighted vest. So obviously I wanted to tell somebody about it. And so I take this selfie and I posted it on Instagram and I'm like 6 mile run, weighted vest, like, Bob, where are you? Like spot check. Are you working for it? Are you wishing for it? Like whatever. I had something clever in my mind. I thought it was cool and clever to say. And I immediately got like some positive feedback and like started seeing people's profiles with like sober in the name and like ultra runner x at like so I was like, where have I been? Like it was all this stuff was brand new to me, so I was immediately drawn in, and I've always used it as a positive tool to like for accountability, for motivation, for inspiration. Like, and then I had this attitude that I was like, I'm not going to post a selfie like unless I just like did something pretty cool. And so I would always like work hard to like, and that was my mindset. I'm like, if I'm going to post a picture of me like after I worked out, I better have done something pretty cool. And that would kind of motivate me. And the rhymes come like they'll come to my head when I'm running. And I try to put them together. And I feel like it's a little bit not a little bit, it's my personality and I always strive to be like I'm the same guy when you see me at a local race that I am online, and that's always I've always taken pride in that. Not to say that not everybody is, but people I feel like especially with the age of the growing like runfluencer or whatever they want to label people always have some negative stuff to say about someone not being like true or authentic and I just love and respect the sport and the community so much. Like I'm never gonna win a race, but like I'm never gonna not give my all. So if I can bring a little bit of my own personality through like my love for hip hop, my love for trying to make up a rhyme, my love for taking selfies, my love for telling you that you shouldn't be hitting the snooze button because you're not going to get to your goals if you're hitting the snooze button because guess what? Someone else is out there getting up and getting after it. And I just get so excited. I want to be the hype man. I want to be the cheerleader. So to kind of wrap that up is I've embraced my role as like the cheerleader. I'm so inspired by other people. Like when I did my very first 100, there were like these two gentlemen that I had looked up to on Instagram for so long. So to see them in person, it was Andrew Glaze and Eli. And to see them in person and be like, oh my gosh, but you're so awesome. Like they were like 40 miles ahead of me or something crazy. And they stopped and like took a selfie with me. And like, he's like, you're effing awesome. Your energy is outrageous. And like, that fires me up just to be a part of it. And like, it was just like, I'll never forget that race. Like and that got me absolutely hooked on the 100s. I mean, unfortunately, I'm like 2 for 6, I think, at the 100-mile distance. The buckles aren't that easy to come by for me, but I'm not going to stop trying. So.
Oh God, I think okay. I know for sure I'm going after 100. Joe's going after 100. Doug is going to go after 100.
Yeah.
It's like this golden carrot that we all want so bad, and I've already failed twice at it. I'm like, oh.
If you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. That's a
right,
Denzel
that's right.
Washington quote. And when I did my first 100, and I'm sure y'all can relate. Like I can remember miles 40 to 70 just felt like they were never gonna happen. Like I was in such a rut. I had to remind myself that I wear sweatshirts that say positivity always, because I was like, where are the positive vibes? And then I got next to a runner that was like, this sucks. I'm dropping. He said I can't drop to the 100K. I'm done. I'm stopping. And I was like, bro, like you're already at mile 45. Like you're doing pretty awesome. Like don't be negative. You got to be positive. And he wasn't trying to hear any of the positivity. And I was losing positivity, so I couldn't let somebody take it out. I said, no offense, brother, but I can't like run with you. I was like, I got to stay positive. I got to stay upbeat. And I was getting the self-doubt. I was like, how am I going to get to mile 50? Never mind 100. And then once I got to like 69, 70, 71, I'm like, you're really going to do this. And I remember my last lap of the 20 miler just kind of running faster than I had ran. It took me over a day to do it, but I was running faster than I had the whole day before. And people were like, where did this speed come from? And I didn't know. And like, so I finished the race, got the buckle. It was amazing. I was with friends. I was so proud of myself. It was amazing. But I've come to find out that they're not that easy to come by. For myself, I'm speaking for myself. I've had a couple of DNFs and they really sting, but they're fuel for the fire. And I know that I can finish a half. I know I can finish a full. I mean, I know I can finish a 50K and a 50 miler. So I want the ones that are hard. I heard a quote one time, and the guy was like, if it's not hard, I don't want it. Like if it's going to be easy to get, I'm not going to sign up for it. And that's my attitude. Obviously right now in the spring, I'm shifting to training hard for the marathon distance, but then it's right back to ultra for the summer. So ultra is where my heart's at. It really is. I call myself the Marathon Panda, and I'll never not have love and respect for the 26.2 mile distance. But the ultra community is just something of its own beast that I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
You're the best cheerleader ever, man. I can feel like the energy like coming off the screen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm ready
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm ready to go run right now.
You need
Yeah.
to. You need to. It's not even dark out yet, right?
Negative energy
awesome.
begets negative energy, and
That's
positive energy begets positive energy. And I've had the pleasure of getting to do some training runs with Maurice, which we got to get some more on this
Oh
year.
yeah, we're gonna go out to the Anchor Down course.
And yeah, it's real. I mean, the energy, the positive energy, the joy, like it's absolutely, it's real. I see him at a run, we get to hug it up. They give you the microphone after some of these runs and let you talk to everybody, and like it's just totally authentic. Yeah,
There
I love it, man.
Thank you. There's a funny story. It was like a local half marathon, and we're only at like mile 1.7, and I'm yelling. I'm like 13.1 for breakfast. Let's go. Wake up. Let's go. We came to eat. We're outside eating. And I'm yelling and screaming. I'm giving high fives. And this guy looks at me and he goes, oh yeah, we'll see this guy in a few miles. He won't be able to finish the race, right? So obviously that gets me fired up to keep it
Oh,
up.
yeah.
So I'm fired up. I'm high fiving everybody. We're at like mile 11. I'm cranking it, and I'm still yelling and screaming and saying like, less than 2 miles to go. You're all awesome. This is what we woke up for. And the guy comes up to me after the race, and he's like, My name's Jim. He's like, you're freaking awesome. I thought it was all a show. He's like, I thought you were going to get gassed out. I didn't think you knew what you were doing, but he's like, you obviously do this all the time. He's like, I hope I didn't sound like a jerk. And I'm like, bro, you're so awesome for just coming up to me and chatting with me. And we gave each other like a big hug. He is incredible. He's in his 70s and he finishes 5Ks, half marathons, like nothing. Like every week he's racing. So I'm so glad that like we made that connection. And I just had so much love and respect for him that he came up to me and was like, bro, like I had your whole attitude figured out wrong. Like you're pretty cool. And like my name's Jim, like nice to meet you. And I just thought that was so awesome. I see him all the time. We take selfies together and everything. And it's true, like when someone comes up to me and is like, hey, bro, like you gave me a high five at mile 11. I didn't want to quit after that. Like that fires me up. That fires me up because we're talking like, I love like those out and back races when all the lead men and women and you can see them coming back. I'll literally lose my voice yelling and screaming at them. And obviously some people, I always like to mention, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but it's kind of, when people say thanks for cheering for me, that fires me up. It really does. It's reciprocated. The positive vibes, the cheerleading, it helps me stay motivated. When I see because we all have stories. That's the coolest part about this community. And I always, every time I have the chance to speak, I always share this quote that will always stick with me. There's this wicked cool kid, Nick Lemon. He placed like I want to say top 40 at the Boston Marathon. I think he was 36th in the world. So really, really very, very talented runner. And we followed each other on Instagram. I had met him at a Nike store the Boston Marathon weekend. And I was joking around and I looked up the placing and I said, you better watch out next year because you only beat me by 36,580 runners or whatever the math was or whatever, right? And he messaged me back, which I was obviously excited about. And he was like, bro, he's like, I love your run streak. I love your energy. And you ran the same race on the same day in the same weather and you put out the same effort. Great job. And that will always stick with me because I'm never going to run a 2:30 marathon. I'll probably never run a 3:10 marathon. But that doesn't mean that like I don't love it and I don't work as hard as the person that does. And the person that's running a 6-hour marathon, they obviously love it and they work just as hard as we do too. So it helped me always put it in perspective that I'm just some guy that loves to do this stuff. So to be included in a community where there's people competing on all levels, you have former, Division I athletes, former Olympians, you have people running for sobriety, people running because of grief or mental health. Like there's so many different reasons why people lace up and get after it. So to be included in that community is just like, that's the gift for me. And that's what keeps me fired up and wanting more. And I get it in both. I know a lot of people say like, there's more love in the ultra community and you're not going to find that in road running. But I kind of disagree with that because I know road runners that compete at a high level that really love the passion and they respect this kind of like mindset where like we should be cheering for each other.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's runners in general, all runners. They show love for all runners. I mean, Vinny and I have a track group that we run with every Wednesday. We love those people, man. They welcomed us into their community. And now we look forward to it every week. And, we run fast and not as fast as other people, but that's not the point, right? Like
Right.
we're all running on the same track. We're all there for the same reason because we love to run. And
Exactly.
who you hang out with matters. If you don't have any positive people in your life, if you don't know any runners, like go meet some, even if they're only online, right? Like through Recovery Road Runners or wherever you can find them. Like follow Maurice. He's got the best Instagram page on Instagram. But like you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So if you're hanging out with a bunch of people who are sitting on the couch drinking beer, guess what? That's going to be you. If you're hanging out with a bunch of badass people who are running, that's going to be you, hang out with sober
Exactly.
people, like go meet them. So it reminds me, like you were saying, you love ultras. A lot of people that are listening probably think like, not me. Like I could never run that far. Like but we want to encourage people to just sign up for a race, like no matter what distance, right? Um, but I truly think that anybody could run a marathon, anybody could run an ultra marathon, and I love to push people to go farther, like go outside your comfort zone, like push yourself, stretch yourself, and see what you're capable of because they can do it. It's just they're not confident. They don't know like everything about running. They don't know anybody who runs. Like, how do we help them to just get inspired and sign up for like a big race and go for it?
So I love that attitude. I love the question. I never ever thought I'd be the guy that was running ultra marathons. I remember using like the hashtag like about like the how 26.2 was just like life. Like you know what I mean? Like that was the end all be all. Like it's a marathon. And then I volunteered at a race that the one that Doug and I are going to do together this year. It's called the Anchor Down Ultra. It's a 24-hour event. You can sign up for 6 hours, you can sign up for 12. You can sign up for 24. You have to qualify for the 12 and the 24 with previous races and all that stuff. But I volunteered there with the wisdom. I'm very fortunate to have an awesome run coach, Lori, and her husband, Paul. They are experienced ultra marathons, 100-mile finishers. And I volunteered. I only had a 4 or 5 hour shift at one of the aid stations. And I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, these people are running until tomorrow, like until tomorrow. And I'm only there for 4 hours. And like the hype, the energy, the family and friends that are cheering these folks on, the runners that were like just so locked in, they're stopping and they're like eating one thing, filling their water bottle, going back out for another loop. It's a 2.4 mile loop that you run over and over again for 24 hours. It's absolutely crazy. But it's really, really fun. It's half trail, half road, and it's just like it's on the hottest day of the year. I love the heat. I had to wear 2 pairs of gloves, 2 pairs of tights, and 2 fleeces today, and I was still cold. But you can't be Mr. Positive Panda and complain about the cold when you live in New England. So I said, Maurice, you can't be yelling at people saying no treadmills on race day and then complain that it's cold out in the wintertime because it gets cold in the winter. So I always have to douse myself in my own mantras to remind myself to stay super positive. But to get people, I volunteered and I was like, I have to do this. How do I get into this race? And I immediately looked up the qualifications, found out that if I ran a 12-hour race, I would qualify for the 24-hour race as long as I completed the 12-hour race. So I was like, how do I do a 12-hour race? And I did a virtual, I think it was right around COVID, I did a virtual 8-hour ultra marathon. So it was this big event that was going to be held in like, I want to say Virginia or Pennsylvania or something like that. But she canceled it because of COVID, but allowed everybody to enter virtually, and you could still get the wooden plaque if you finished. So I told my buddy, I'm like, we need to sign up for this 8-hour virtual run. He's like, 8 hours? I said, yeah, we're going to start at, whatever the math was. We're going to start now. We're going to finish it now. And I said, let's do it. We'll just run around town and we'll make our own course. Like, we're just going to run for 8 hours. And he was like, we can do this. And I signed up, finished the 8-hour run with a friend. We used my shed at the time for like our aid station. So we had fruit, we had snacks, we had hydration, we had extra socks and sneakers, like all stuff that I'm just drawing inspiration and knowledge from other people in this ultra community that I only know through like social media and this one event that I volunteered at. So like I'm brand new to it too at the time. Because I'm like, if we're running for 8 hours, I need more than a couple of goos, you know what I mean? So I'm learning on the fly. We had an awesome time, and this literally sparked into something so much bigger. We then, I had also done a one. I had done one leg of a relay. It was called the Run to Respond relay. So to answer your question more directly, you just have to, like you said, sign up for it. Put something on your calendar. If 24 hours scares you, sign up for a 6-hour event. Sign up for a 12-hour event. If the thought of running 50 miles scares you, sign up for a 50K. And then after that 50K, do the 50 miler. I totally agree with you. Anybody can do this. I always joke around and say how the power walking and the snacking is encouraged in the ultra marathon community. So that's really well. I want to become a more efficient and performance oriented ultra runner. So the power walking will be I missed out on a time cutoff last year in Maine because I did too much power walking and not enough running. So I'm going to try to be the anti-power walker. But with that being said, anybody can do it. I love the idea of the time cutoffs because it makes you work that much harder. And then there are some that have more generous time cutoffs. I think that you're exactly right where like anybody can do it. I have this attitude of like, what's on your calendar? If you put something on your calendar that scares you, that's going to pull you out of bed in the morning. Well, this is how I think. When you don't want to get up and go to the gym, when you don't want to get up and go run 12 miles because it's raining, you're never going to get to that 50K finish line if you're not pushing your limits in your training, if you're not pushing your limits in your preparation. But I think once somebody puts something on their calendar, they have that motivation. It's real. You're locked in. You paid for it. One of the coolest race signs I've ever seen is remember you paid for this. Because when everything starts to hurt and you start doubting everything, you're like, wait, I did pay for this. And it just puts things into like a fun perspective. Like I say it all the time, we're the lucky ones. There are people on the outside looking at us and like wishing that they could do crazy stuff, like go run a 50 miler and bring home a third place age group trophy and then go to a track workout and then, sit back and make a podcast and laugh about all the fun stuff about the running community. Like we are the freaking lucky ones. We're physically, mentally, and emotionally capable to train hard, work hard, and then have fun with the results. And that's what I love most about it. I never had all of this positive, gratitude filled, work hard discipline. I never had this in my previous lifestyle. So that it's very easy for me to like just obviously I'm very vocal about being a recovering addict. It's a healthy addiction. I used to joke around and I say it often still, like Instagram and marathon training is way safer than cocaine and whiskey. And in my case, like that was the trade-off. Like there was a time I told you after the first marathon when I had the relapse where I thought I could be the guy that I used to be, work hard during the week and just party a little tiny bit. And I'll never forget being at a drug house and like trying to tell somebody that I was training for a marathon. And I was like, look, I got the Nike app and I just ran, 12 miles yesterday. And I like ran, like I had run that day and I was in like running clothes. And the person like looked at me and laughed at me and they were like, but bro, you're drinking and like doing drugs. Like, I don't think you're going to be running a marathon anytime soon. And it just made me look at myself and realize like that I couldn't do both. Like you can't be both. Like you can, if you want to call yourself Mr. Marathon Man and you want to be this clean, sober, cool, positive person, you can't burn the candle at the other end and think that you can sprinkle in a little bit of the toxic stuff. And it really, really helped me look at myself and realize that I needed to stop absolutely completely because I really did love running and I really did love the community. And I was like, what are you doing thinking that you can go back? And it really helped and saved me from like falling deep back into a long-term relapse. So hopefully I didn't get too far off track there.
No, I
No,
I
you
love
No,
your story.
that was
yeah,
And,
me
and
awesome.
too.
to hear you come from that to see where you are now. And like I love seeing your successes, Maurice. Like now you're a Lululemon ambassador. I see you're wearing the Marathon Sports sweatshirt. You do a ton of stuff with Marathon Sports. And I know you're always giving back to the community too. And going to Amber's question, you started setting up these fun runs where they're not timed, they're very inexpensive. Everyone still gets a shirt just to extend this to the community. Can you talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, so my vision was I know like the run club scene is like it's been a thing. I mean, there's people that have been doing it in communities for years. My idea was always to kind of just have a fun run with my friends that I run with and people. So a lot of times people ask, just like what Amber said, how can somebody get started? I've had people at the gym, at yoga studios, at different fitness studios be like, Maurice, like, how do I do it? How do I run 3 miles? Like, how do I? So when I was hitting my 1,000 days in the run streak, I wanted to have a run streak party, a party on the pavement, which was a term inspired by another longtime IG friend, Bam Garcia. He came up with party on the pavement, I think. He's sober, he runs ultras, and it's so easy for me. When I see somebody that says something that gets me fired up, it's so easy for me to draw inspiration from that. So I held a local 5K informal. I made shirts for it that like obviously had my Marathon Panda thing on it because I told you I always thought that was pretty cool. And we had a local 5K, had like 14 people show up. We went out for breakfast afterwards, and there was a couple people there that had never run a 5K before, and they ran it, and they were thrilled. And they were like, "I got a shirt. I got to hang out, take selfies. We went out for breakfast, like." And it was so much fun. And I promised myself that I wanted to do this again on a bigger scale. Fast forward 6 years, it's been a while because now we're at over 3,000 days. And I'm hooked up with Marathon Sports, and I can't say enough good things. When I gave them the idea, they literally took over, and I'm good at being the hype man. They did all the admin stuff. We held the first official Panda Posse 5K, very inexpensive, $7, guaranteed you a shirt, and an official entry with the bib and free refreshments and prize giveaways. It was hosted by the Marathon Sports Providence location. We had an official route with like an aid station and chair signs. The Lululemon team showed up with chair signs. So here I am having like legit brand sponsorship and encouragement and backing. And my biggest thing, they even wrote my favorite mantra on the sidewalk in chalk, and that's running the streets that used to run me. Like when I talk about my addiction, I always love to be super transparent because the biggest thing is if we're not trying to help others in our journey, then we're not doing it right. And I was the guy that if I was your friend or family member, you would have given up hope on, or many would have given up hope on, not any of you specifically, you know what I'm saying? Because I did get to the point where I was hopeless, where I was continuously homeless, continuously going back to jail, continuously going back, making devastating decisions on the streets, letting the streets run my life. So now that I'm using running as a positive tool, that's my favorite mantra, is running the streets that used to run me. So I literally got goosebumps like race morning. My mom was there. My brother was there. So many of my close friends, we had over 100 people sign up, 90 people showed up. That was the summertime one. We held the second annual one, and we had like 60 people show up. Some people got scared of the cold weather. But it's something that I want to grow. So thanks for asking, Doug, because yeah, I couldn't have imagined it or dreamed of it being as awesome as it is. Where it started with 12 people at the local playground to now 70, 80, 90 people, father and son teams, mother and daughter teams that are like, I just got my mom to run a 5K. I just got my son to run a 5K. He's never done this before. Now we're running together. One of the most amazing blessings of my story is the fact that running kind of brought me and my son, I have two adult sons, and one of them I hadn't seen in over 18 years, and running brought us back together, and we ran a marathon together 2 years ago. So it's just amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, running is like, and now he like looks at me as someone that motivates and inspires him. He's so proud that like we texted each other the other day, our Strava stats, and he's ahead of me for his like year-to-date mileage. And he's like, I don't know how long this is gonna last, but I'm gonna soak this up. He's like, I got more miles than you, Dad. And like that just feels awesome because here I am. I'm coming up on 10 years in sobriety. Me and my son have been reconnected for 3 years. So 5, 6 years ago, I'm running around town saying, hey, look at me. I'm clean. I'm sober. I run marathons. I had this big weight on my shoulders that I was a deadbeat dad in this situation. My adult son that lives in Rhode Island, we've always had a close relationship. His family never shut the door on me, even though I was doing really bad things. They always had an open door policy. I was able to see him during the holidays. I was at all of his sporting events. So we always had a relationship. When he saw me get clean and sober, our relationship became much stronger. But I had this other adult son that was living in Florida that I hadn't seen in literally over 18 years. So when he reached out to me and was like, Dad, I've been following you on social media. I see that you're running. I run too. Let's make something happen. If you want to meet, I'd love to meet. And it's like, it's a story that you can't even make up. Like, it's incredible. Him and his fiance flew up to Rhode Island. We ran a local 5K together. We signed up for a marathon. Like, it's just amazing. And it's all because I found this sport and community that's helped me stay clean and sober for so many years.
Yeah, this is not just about running. This is not just about not drinking. This is about our entire lives, our livelihood, our families, our children, our well-being. You know,
Yeah,
it's not just about running. It's so much more than that.
I say it all the time. Running allows me to live a higher quality of life. The people that I meet because I got so involved in the running community, the people I meet inspire me. They help me, they encourage me. I have friends, like real friends, that call and text if they think something's going on. And I mean, when you're out there using and isolating yourself and breaking people's and breaking promises to people, you don't have that. You don't have people's trust. You don't have love from people that are, I mean, you have love for people from, you know what I'm trying to say is, like, you don't have these real genuine relationships. I used to speak relationships with, like, people that I wanted to party with, and those people aren't going to be there for you if something happened. I'll never forget, like, one of the coolest parts about becoming sober is, like, experiencing these new emotions for the first time that you always used to drown out with alcohol and drugs. So, like, your first, falling in love, or getting your heart broken, or your first, like, real friendship that, like, something bad happens in one of your lives, and you're there for each other, like, just real life stuff. That's been just as fun and amazing to kind of discover that side of myself. And then, like, the running is just is the icing on the cake, not to sound too cliche. And I'm wicked grateful and fortunate that I've been able to, like, keep it going for a number of years.
Yeah, you're making me want to do two things. Number one, start a run club, which I've tried to do in the past. Number two, host a virtual race with all of you. We've been
That
talking
would be
about setting up
awesome.
a race, all of us together. And don't you guys think it would be super cool to set up a triple R virtual race, like a 6 hour, maybe 4 hour, 6 hour, 8 hour, 12 hour, and then
12.
all of us run together on the same day, like Maurice described?
Yeah,
Yes,
that'd
that
be
would be,
rad.
Yeah.
it would be amazing. It would be amazing.
Maybe you can help us.
Let's do it.
You know, like, because my mission is just to help more people. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know how many people I'm really helping. Like, are people listening? Are they out there? I don't know. Because I have a small coaching group, but I don't want to help like 10 people. I want to help like hundreds of people. And that's just me, like, having a big dream in my heart and maybe being like unrealistic sometimes. But like, I really do want to reach more people. That's why I'm so grateful to have all of you, because you guys have your own audiences, like Joe with the Run Try magazine, and all of you have your own thing. And I think if we like work together, we could make so much progress.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And you're helping more people than you probably know just by continuing to be vocal about sobriety. I had it happen to me recently where one of my coworkers waited until he hit the 12-month mark, and nobody knew. He's a pretty private person. Um, and he was like, "Hey man," he's like, "I want to share this with you. I have another coworker that's in long-term recovery, and he came up to us and he was like, "Bro, I just hit 12 months. I haven't touched a drink or a drug." He goes, "I've never felt better in my life." And it just made me, like, the fact that he couldn't wait to come tell us, because he knew that we both would appreciate that so much, because we're both in long-term recovery too. And I was like, that is so awesome. And he's a super private person. He's like, I had a friend at 6 months that was like, "You should post it on Facebook. You should post it on Facebook." And he waited till the 12 months. He posted it. And then he couldn't believe the people that reached out to him and was like, "Bro, I'm struggling right now. I lie to my wife about drinking. I lie to my wife about going to the casino." And it's like, you never know what somebody's going through. And I mean, I not to just like talk about myself, but I can remember things that really hit home. I'm super transparent about my past and some of the stuff. in my past is like stuff that most people like wouldn't be open about sharing, but like things from being homeless and prostitution and like stuff like that, and the heavy drug use with like crack cocaine and heroin and methamphetamine. I had somebody reach out to me one time on Instagram, and she's like, I know you don't know me, but the way that you talk about these things openly has allowed me to have a conversation with my brother, who I know is currently, you know, having sex for money and using it for hardcore drugs. And like, he will not open up. But I talked to him about your page and your attitude and how you talk about it and how you turned your life around. And she's like, I don't think he's stopped using yet, but we're able to have that conversation. And she's like, I just want to thank you. And that always stuck with me, because if that's what I want to do, is I want to let people know, like, you might have somebody in your life right now that you think there's no hope. Well, I was that person, and if I can turn it around, so can they. And we, like I say it all the time, we all have stories, but like, Amber, to touch on what you said, you are helping people, and you're right. If we work together, we can help just that many more people. I've had people reach out to me that are like, I started a run streak. I'm inspired by you. And I'm inspired by people that have been streaking longer than me. And it's like, it's just so cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
chat with you offline. We've got a nationwide run club idea we're trying to go with, where it's, you know, part sobriety meeting, part run club. So I'd love to get your take on that sometime, Maurice.
Absolutely. We need to do it.
Yeah. Well, this is probably a good time to wrap it up. I'm sure we could talk for like 6 more hours with you, but I just want to
We
say,
could go
like,
live if we did a virtual race. We could go live
Yeah.
and just like
Yeah.
talk the whole time
yeah,
and have
for
and have
sure.
people tune in.
Okay, so we're gonna do it 100%, all of us and everybody who wants to do it. Run your first marathon, run your first ultra, run your first whatever, and we're gonna do it as a united team. It's gonna be freaking awesome. So I just want to say, like, you are so freaking inspiring. Like,
Well,
every
thank
word
you
that
for
comes
saying
out of your mouth, I'm just like, give me more, give me more. I could like
that.
binge your Instagram page all freaking day. Vinny's like, are you watching his page again? And I'm like, I literally can't stop. Like, I'm obsessed with you. So like, you're like a legend. You're like my hero.
Well,
Seriously, you give
thank you
me
for
so
your kind
much.
words.
You really are. So
No, thank you
if
for your kind words. That's awesome.
thank you for all that
Yeah.
you do for the recovery community.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank you
Maurice.
so much for having me.
You got me fired up, man. I think we just started following each other a couple months ago on Instagram, but yeah, you get me pretty
Yeah,
fired up, man.
I appreciate that. Let's keep it going. High
Yeah,
fives and positive vibes.
yeah.
All right. Until next time. Peace out, everybody.
Love, peace, and hair grease.
Thanks for listening.
I'll stop the recording.